Hello and welcome to CNBC-TV18. You're watching Business 360 and these are the headlines we're tracking for you this evening. The stock markets post the biggest fall in a month. The sensex loses nearly 800 points. The nifty down over 200 points. All sectoral indices end in the red. Adani Group stocks fall, wiping out 1 lakh crore rupees in market capitalization. Hindenburg Research raises concerns over valuation and debt, also reveals short positions in Adani Group companies. Adani Group accuses Hindenburg of malified intent, calls the charges stale, baseless and discredited. Bajaj Auto beats estimates in the third quarter. Profits rise nearly 23%. EBITDA is at a record high thanks to judicious pricing and better dollar realization. Cipla misses estimates in Q3. 6% revenue growth fails to excite investors. R&D investments up nearly 40% to more than 360 crore rupees. The government approves the sale of 30 lakh metric tons of wheat in the open market to cool down prices. Government sources say there are no plans to revisit the export ban on wheat before the arrival of the next crop in March. The U.S. Justice Department, along with 8 states, sue Google for allegedly harming competition and abusing dominant position in the online advertising market, seeks to force Google to break up part of its business. Google terms the allegations unfounded, vows to fight back. Microsoft warns of slower growth in the coming months despite beating estimates in December. Satya Nadella says new business growth is slowing as customers are looking to save money. Star Health plans to diversify into the life insurance business, will apply for a composite license once the government clears the proposal, amends the insurance laws accordingly. A standalone health insurer right now, Star Health plans to offer term life insurance products as well. US and Germany all set to send battle tanks to Ukraine as the Russian invasion completes 11 months. Moscow has termed the possible deliveries of tanks by US as another blatant provocation. The Supreme Court grants an interim bail of 8 weeks to Ashish Mishra, the key accused in the Lakhimpur Kheri case, but rules that he cannot live in UP or NCR. The apex court also grants interim bail to 4 people who are accused in a cross case related to the alleged lynching of 3 persons. 4 out of 10 Indians responding to a Kantar India survey expect an increase in the basic income tax exemption limit from the current 2.5 lakhs this upcoming budget. Around 40% of the respondents, who were a mix of salaried and business owners, also expect an increase in the threshold limit of the highest tax slab rate of 30%. Well, let's start with the day's market action. The stock market saw a sharp sell-off today with every sectoral index ending in the red. So we saw the sensex lose nearly 800 points. The nifty was down 200. Bank stocks taking it on the chin. The mid-caps not spared either. Prashant is here to wrap up the day's market action for us across the board, closing in the red. Prashant.
Well, it was deep red, the market losing 200 points in the nifty. And if you're looking for one reason, a dominating driver, I don't think there's one to be found. It was a combination of things. Global cues overnight were poor. The market here has been underperforming global markets all of this year. Perhaps a little bit of nervousness ahead of the budget, which is in the middle of next week. So all of this combined adding to the pressure that we are seeing. Banks were also sold off pretty hard, perhaps more on banks as compared to non-banks. Nifty losses coming through in Adani Ports, and the Adani Group was another sort of pocket of pressure for the market. I'll get to more stocks in a bit. SBI was down, Cipla was down, IndusInd, the HDFC twins were also sharply lower. Bajaj stood out at gain, but the numbers reacting towards the end. The numbers came out for the third quarter. Numbers look good. Lever, Hindalco were the other stocks which were higher. Market breadth was extremely negative, so I'll stick with losses. As I said, the Adani pack came under selling pressure. Adani Wilmar, Transmission, Green, Ambuja Cement, ACC, all seeing some selling. Zomato, United Spirits, Container Corporation, a fair bit of earnings disappointments also resulting to selling. Like, for example, in the case of United Spirits, Indus Tower was another earnings-led reaction. Traxim, the recent IPO, Kiri Industries were some of the other volume-led losses that we saw. The range this year has been 17,800 and 18,200, and today's selling gets us closer to the lower end of the range. The big support for the Nifty comes in around 17,761, which is the low which was made in January earlier. And for the Bank Nifty, it's looking a little more precarious. It did break intraday the December 26th swing low, but we managed to close above it. When we come back day after, I think bulls will hope that these levels are defended with some help, of course, from global markets.
Prashant, many thanks for joining us. That was the market action for you. And staying with the market, shares of the Adani Group under pressure today, with 1 lakh crore rupees in market cap being wiped out. This after US investment research firm Hindenburg Research revealed short positions and flagged multiple risks. The Adani Group has hit back, accusing Hindenburg of malified intent. The short seller, Hindenburg, said it holds short positions in Adani Group companies through US-traded bonds and non-Indian traded derivative instruments. The report said that the 7 listed companies of the Adani Group have of 85% downside on a fundamental basis due to sky-high valuations. Hindenburg also claimed that Adani Group companies have taken on substantial debt, including pledging off their shares of inflated stock for loans, putting the entire group on a precarious financial footing. Adani Group has responded to the allegations, saying, and I quote, "The report is a malicious combination of selective misinformation and stale, baseless and discredited allegations that have been tested and rejected by India's highest courts," end of quote. Adani also questioned the timing of the report ahead of the upcoming Adani Enterprises follow-on public offer.
The timing of the report's publication clearly betrays a brazen, malified intention to undermine Adani Group's reputation with the principal objective of damaging the upcoming follow-on public offering from Adani Enterprise, the biggest FPO by a private sector company in India.
Well, that's the reaction there coming in from the Adani Group. In the currency market, the Indian rupee gaining ground against the dollar. The rupee ended the day at 81.59 against the greenback, gaining about 13 paise in trade today. And in the commodity market, crude oil prices rose as investors remained optimistic on a recovery in demand from China. On the supply side, major oil producers expected to keep output steady when they meet next week. Brent trading above $86 a barrel, post a sharp fall in the previous session. Well, the big earnings today. Bajaj Auto has beaten street estimates in Q3. EBITDA is at a record high thanks to judicious pricing and better dollar realization. Sonia standing by with the earnings fine print. Sonia.
Well, thanks a lot for that. As you rightly pointed out, it's a very good set of numbers that's come in for Bajaj Auto. Now, this time around, you had lower raw material prices, which aided the margins for these two-wheeler makers, and that is what has stood out in this quarter. So if you look at the overall numbers, the margins is what really stands out. 1,776 crores is the core EBITDA. The expectation was 1,535 crores, which means the margins are more than 200 basis points higher than what the street was estimating. So it's a big beat in that sense. 19.1% margins is what we've seen for Bajaj Auto compared to an expectation of 17.3%. That's also a 30% growth compared to what we've seen last year as far as the core EBITDA is concerned. Now remember, this is at a time when the exports are under pressure for some of Bajaj Auto's key markets. But nevertheless, in the press release, the management says that this is the record high EBITDA that they delivered. And there are a couple of reasons for this. Of course, lower raw material prices, but better dollar realizations and a richer product mix is what has aided margins as well. So all in all, good set of numbers, positive commentary coming in from the management. And, we could expect the stock to open in the green tomorrow. Back to you.
All right, Sonia, many thanks for joining us. That's Bajaj Auto's Q3 for you. And staying with earnings, let's move on to pharma major Cipla, reporting a weak set of numbers for the third quarter. Consolidated net profit came in at over 800 crore rupees versus an expectation of over 940 crores. Revenues missing street estimates at over 5,800 crores. Analysts were expecting revenue to cross 6,200 crore rupees. Cipla's margins in line with expectations, coming in at over 24%. However, if compared to the same quarter last fiscal, the company has seen an all-round improvement in results. The big global story, the US Department of Justice has filed an antitrust lawsuit against Google. Now, the Department of Justice, along with a group of 8 states, have accused the tech giant of abusing its monopoly position in the online advertising market. The lawsuit is seeking to force Google to break up parts of his business. This is not the first time Google has been sued by the US government. In 2020, the Trump administration had accused the company of misusing its dominant position in the online search business. Google has responded to the lawsuit, saying, and I quote, "Today's lawsuit from the Department of Justice attempts to pick winners and losers in the highly competitive advertising technology sector. It largely duplicates an unfounded lawsuit by the Texas Attorney General, much of which has recently been dismissed by a federal court," end of quote. And staying with big tech, Microsoft reporting a lower than expected revenue in their December quarter. The company expects the trend to continue in the next quarter. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella said the new business growth is slowing down as customers shift to savings mode. And staying with Microsoft, the tech giant has reported outages across several services, including Outlook, Teams, 365 and Azure. Most of the outages are reported from Indian users. According to Down Detector, more than 5,000 users reported trouble using Teams and Outlook. Microsoft has acknowledged the outage, saying that they are investigating the issue. Bharti Airtel has raised its basic tariff plans by around 55%. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, the Minister of State for Electronic and Information Technology, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, has said that rising cost of data remains a concern for the government, adding that the hike in tariffs is an impediment to India's digitization goals, and prices have been globally impacted due to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Take a look.
Increasing in cost of data consumption and/or increase in the cost of devices is a matter of concern, because those are impediments to rapid proliferation. These are all issues that are fallouts of a certain thing that is happening far away in Europe. So we will wait and watch and see what the longer term impacts are.
Well, that is the Minister of State for IT and Technology. The shares of Bharti Electronics under pressure today. This after Norway's Norges Bank announced that it was excluding the company from its $1.3 trillion sovereign wealth fund. The exclusion followed Bharti Electronics' sale of weapons to the military in Myanmar. Norges Bank said it was an unacceptable risk that the company is selling weapons to a state that uses these weapons in ways that constitute serious and systemic breaches of the international rules of conduct of hostilities. The consortium of 16 lenders led by the State Bank of India have approved the one-time settlement of outstanding dues for Religare Finwest. The NBFC arm of Religare Enterprises owes over 5,000 crore rupees to the lenders and is set to pay over 2,000 crores to them as part of its plan within 90 days. The settlement of dues clears the deck for the NBFC to exit from the corrective action plan imposed by the RBI. We will head into a short break, but when we return, 4 out of 10 Indians responding to a Kantar India survey expect an increase in the basic income tax exemption limit from the current 2.5 lakhs this upcoming budget. That and more when we get back. In a bid to tame wheat prices, the government has approved the sale of 30 lakh metric tons of wheat in the open market. Wheat prices hit a record high earlier this week. Abhimanyu standing by with the details. Abhimanyu, what are you picking up on what the government intends to do?
Well, the government has approved the proposal for sale of 30 lakh metric tons of wheat under OMSS to cool down rising prices. Wheat will be sold through traders, state governments, cooperatives and PSUs. Government sources have indicated that there are no plans for now to revisit the export ban on wheat before arrival of the next Rabi crop in March. Sources within the government are of the view that several global developments, like a drop in international price of wheat and the bleak projection for wheat futures for the next 6 months, are also going to cool prices and reduce chances of speculators from playing truant. Local wheat prices in India could increase by another 5 to 6% if the government does not release food stocks in the next 15 days. Wheat prices are currently 50% more than the MSP of rupees 2,125 per quintal for 22-23 Rabi season. Wheat prices have increased 2% in New Delhi to rupees 31,508 per ton and 7% in Indore to rupees 29,375 per ton. Wheat output in India had fallen to 106.84 million tons in 2022 compared to 109.59 million tons in 2021.
Abhimanyu, many thanks for joining us. That is the latest as far as wheat prices are concerned. Moving on, a survey by Kantar India has revealed that 4 out of 10 Indians expect an increase in the basic income tax exemption limit from the current 2.5 lakhs this upcoming budget. The survey was conducted among nearly 1,900 people across 12 key Indian cities. Shilpa joins us now with more. Shilpa, take us through the key expectations ahead of the budget.
Well, with no clear end in sight for the Russia and Ukraine war and expected economic slowdown, Indian consumers are cautiously optimistic. Now, that's what the Kantar's India Union Budget Survey says. Now, while about 50% of those surveyed believe that the Indian economy will grow in 2023, rising inflation is worrying 3 out of every 4 consumers that were surveyed who want the government to introduce decisive measures to tackle inflation, and job cuts being seen across industries, with 1 in 4 being worried about layoffs as well. Now, in such a scenario, what do Indian consumers want from the budget? While policy changes with respect to income tax seems to be the biggest hope, with the most common expectations among the salaried segment being an increase in the basic income tax exemption limit from the current 2.5 lakh rupees. Now, meanwhile, most businessmen and self-employed, they want the 10 lakh rupee threshold for the 30% tax slab rate to be raised as well. The consumers also want tax rebates under ATC and on health insurance to be increased. And as the new tax regime option enters its third year, over 50 consumers claim to be in favor of that over the old regime. Now, all in all, with inflation having pinched rural and middle-class households the most, the hope, as usual, seems to be a budget that puts more money back in their hands.
All right, Shilpa, many thanks for joining us. And that is it then on this edition of Business 360. Thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned to CNBC-TV18. The news continues. When we return, we're back after a very short break.